This is Amy Jo Goddard, and I've been thinking a lot about pleasure and orgasm lately. And I haven't talked about it in a while, and I've wanted to talk about it because I think in a time like now, like in these crazy times when there's so much happening in the world, there's so many things that are distressing, that are sad, that are upsetting, so much difficulty that many people are having in this world. I think it is very easy for people to want to push pleasure aside and say, that's trivial, that's not important. I shouldn't be focused on my orgasms. I shouldn't be worried about how much pleasure I'm having. I mean, there are people that are dying and how can I be making this important? And so I really want to say that the amount of pleasure and ecstasy you have in your life is actually critical to us shifting the paradigms that are in the world and the pain that is in the world. So us shutting down pleasure because there's pain just actually creates more pain. That doesn't help anything. So I hear a lot of distress from people around pleasure and orgasm. They're not having orgasms with their partners. Maybe they're not having orgasms at all. There's a lot of dissatisfaction with people's sexual lives. I hear from people that they're just not experiencing enough pleasure in life in general, which generally, if you're not experiencing the pleasure you want in your sex life, you probably aren't experiencing pleasure in other parts of your life. And vice versa. I mean, the way we do anything is the way we do everything, and that matters. So I think for a lot of people, they feel like they're sexually broken or there's something wrong with them because they're not doing it right? They're not experiencing it the way they think that everybody else is experiencing it. And this can be quite distressing for people, and it can create a lot of shame internally about how they're experiencing their sexuality and their bodies and their desire. And then I'll hear things from people like, I only experience orgasms with vibrators and there's something wrong with that, or I don't want that. And how do I fix that? Right. So the first thing I really want to acknowledge is that I've worked with thousands of people and, I've had so many conversations about these things with people and done so much work that I can tell you with assuredness that everyone can heal. No one's broken, and everyone has that ability to heal and to experience something different. It might not look like your best friend. It might not look like your sister or your, whoever. Like the stories that you're hearing might be different from your story, but it's really about figuring out, well, what's possible in this body? What does this body do? And our pleasure is so critical because it's such a deep part of our humanity, right? Of our experience of being in a human body. It is right in our Constitution that we have the pursuit of happiness, that we uphold that right to the pursuit of happiness. So clearly this matters, right? And so whether you're a teacher or a social worker, or you're doing social justice in the world, or you're an artist or a musician, or you're in business, or whatever you're doing in the world, if you're doing anything that involves helping people, or if you care about helping people, whether it's in your work or in other ways, then understanding that connecting more deeply to your own pleasure and your own life force and your own human capacity in your body, that is an enormous resource that you utilize to be able to make your art, to be able to heal, to be able to help others. And so when we ignore that, when we try to push that to the side or pretend like that's not important, that's trivial, and I shouldn't be focused on that, that's like a luxury that, like, if you're lucky, you get to have that, then we're cutting off our life force. We're actually cutting off our creative energy that allows us to really be in service and to create something in the world. And I think that we're all here to create that. And so that orgasmic energy, building that, is part of how we build in the world. And it's part of how we build our lives and we help others. So this is critically important. And I think, I would be remiss to not mention that a big part of the problem is that I think for many women in particular, we are trying to fit into a male model of sexuality that doesn't fit us. We're trying to fit that square peg in that round hole. It's just different. It's apples and oranges. And when we try to make ourselves into this thing that we're not, when we follow this male model of sexuality, it can be very distressing because our sexuality is maybe never going to look like that. We are all different. And so it's really that journey of exploration and discovery of figuring out what is it that really brings our life force alive, and that when we plug in, that really zaps us with that energy that is so potent and powerful. There's a reason why people want it so much. It's not trivial. So I'm going to do a webinar actually very, very soon. And I will put all the details here in this email to you or right below this video. And I would love to have you there because it's critical that we are able to talk about this piece of who we are. And I think like there's so much shame that we hold inside about even wanting more around our sexuality that we don't allow ourselves to want. And so I want to really offer some permission for all of us to want that, and for all of us to pursue that, and to know that it will make you a better parent, it will make you a better friend, it will make you a better teacher, and it will make you a better advocate for whatever it is that you are advocating for in this world. So I want you to join me on this webinar, and even if you don't want to join me, I hope that what I've talked about today has been really helpful to you in giving yourself a little bit more permission. So we need to experience pleasure every day. It's really, really essential to our lives. And that's something that I know I'm also working on as I'm really doing a lot of things in the world too. And so I want to talk about that in the webinar as well. I am right there with you. So I can't wait to see you. There's so much to talk about, to dig into this topic and to get through the blocks that really hold us back so that we can really have that pleasure and that ecstasy that we want and that we deserve. So I will see you very soon.